Hello and welcome to Knit, Design, Edit, Sleep, Repeat with Lisa Conway, Denise Finley, and Tiffany Wooten. Let's listen in and see what's happening, who's happening, and what's new in their world.
Today, Tiffany and I talk with Tunisian crochet designer Asia Martinez.
Well, hello, Miss Lisa. How are you, darling?
Oh, I'm fine.
You're all bundled up. So, to catch the listeners up, I know y'all know we pre-record these. We are recording this the latter end of October, and she's wearing a fuzzy, cozy looking warm jacket that I want like 3 of. And she looks like she's rather cold up there, so the weather must have changed.
Yeah, it's not quite an hoodie, but it's on the same line as an hoodie. It's just not as thick. It doesn't
Yeah.
have the lining in it, and it's got a giant pocket for my
Ooh, kangaroo
hands and
pockets
a
are
phone
great.
pocket for my phone. And if I'm really, really cold, the cowl collar comes up over my head.
I like it. I need like
And
6 of
it's
those.
extremely soft and pettable.
Yeah, I need like 6 of those. So apparently the weather's changed since the last time we talked and it has snowed there.
Yep.
So, yeah. We
And
got down into the 30s last week, but that was
even
as
though
good as I can
this
do.
episode will actually come out before the one where we talked about it not snowing until late
Oh,
October,
that's right, it is. We did record them out of order. Okay, so
I
y'all are
I
gonna get
will
this entertainment.
I will mention that in that episode, I did a little edit and I cut in when we had our first snow. So I'm not gonna
I'm
say it
good.
today.
I'm good.
They
That's
can wait
good.
till then to find out.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I forgot we did those out of order. Well, today Miss Lisa is stepping in for our lovely sparkle coordinator who is out with some eye issues. So y'all send her all the good vibes, all the good prayers. She needs some support. So she needed to step back and breathe for a minute. So Miss Lisa is going to help me out with an interview today. Miss Lisa, I would love to introduce you to Asia. She is my little yarn fixation. She's one of my designers. She designs for Tunisian. I think there's a crochet one somewhere in there. And her latest venture has been stitch markers that I am in love with, every one of them. And they go on all of my projects now. About the only thing I don't use them for is my cast on counting because the light bulbs are easier than that. But
I've
so
been spending a lot of time on Etsy lately and I was definitely looking.
I mean, Etsy's a fun place to spend money. I'm just saying.
But I've spent so much money lately that yeah.
Welcome to the world. It's fun. So this is
Yarn
y'all's
and
warning.
fiber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more fiber for the card drumming. So
Anyway, it's
Asia,
a
Lisa,
pleasure
Lisa,
meeting you,
Asia,
Asia.
Hello,
and
nice
this
to
is
meet you.
this is everybody's warning that I am scattered. So this is going to be a chaos train. So everybody, please buckle up your seatbelts. So put your tray tables in your upright positions and hold on tight because I don't know where this one's going.
Yeah, this
So
one might be a little bumpy.
this one's gonna be entertaining, anyways. So.
W um, I'm trying to channel sparkle instead of exhaustion, let's just say.
Well, let's go ahead and you kick it off with the design story question.
Alright, dear. Asia, please tell me about how you got into designing, why you chose to get into designing, uh, you know, when and why did you get started?
So I was a serial pattern tester once I found the knitting and crochet community on Instagram. I met a lot of really great designers, um, and I work best under pressure. So having a deadline makes it so I finish things.
It's funny how our
um,
lives are like that, isn't it?
yeah. So I started that way, and then I started my first design early 2020. Um, and I had partnered with Kathleen with LaRue Cotton for that design. She was also the very first designer that I had ever tested for. So
Y'all are
she was
very
my
Y'all are very familiar with Kathleen because you know I've talked about her before. I'm just saying. All right,
Yes.
go ahead.
Is that the Kathleen that we
Yes,
have interviewed? Okay,
yes.
so
No,
Kathleen
no,
Gibbs.
that was Catherine. That was Catherine. This is
Oh,
Kathleen.
oh,
Two different
okay.
beings. We do it
Yeah,
all the
you're
time.
right.
Well, we say the names backwards all the time. So, anyways, okay,
Okay,
continue.
all right.
Um, so yeah, she dyes cotton. I live in South Florida, so I love wearing cotton. Um, because it's just too hot most of the time for wool. Um, I tried Tunisian crochet with a pattern test and I fell in love with it, so I decided to start designing in Tunisian. And I've done a few designs. I work full time, so not very many, but I have gotten a few done.
I mean, it happens, but
Yeah,
y'all, her
I'm
Tunisian
actually
designs are very beginner friendly. So anybody who wants to jump on the Tunisian train, these are really good patterns to jump on the train with. I'm just saying.
okay. I'm going to throw a second question out here before you get to your first one, Tiffany,
Go for
because
it.
you talk about Tunisian as though it's a separate thing from crochet. And yet I'm hearing Asia say Tunisian crochet, which is the way I'm familiar with it for the last, like 40, 50 years because I'm old. Um,
You're not that old, but okay.
oh, hey, I have a birthday coming up.
Oh Lord, everybody watch out. She's going to be asking for gifts.
Um, is Tunisian like a different stitch in crochet, or is it a separate craft?
I'm going
So
to let you
Because
answer
you
this
talk
before
about it
I
like
give
it's a
my
separate craft.
answer.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so I feel kind of conflicted because I think it is a separate craft because it is different for sure than crochet. It's kind of like knitting and crochet had a baby, and that's what happened.
100% how the way I
So
look at it as well.
yeah, so like a lot of the stitches are similar, like you do chain stitches and stuff still like you do in crochet. Um, but to me, I find it easier to take like knitting cables and translate those to Tunisian as opposed to crochet cables. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's
Yeah,
kind of like a good mix of both.
it is very much a blend of the two crafts. And yeah, I'm lazy. I call it Tunisian instead of Tunisian crochet because, at this point I figure everybody's used to hearing me call it Tunisian crochet, that they're going to assume that Tunisian I speak of is Tunisian crochet, but it is very much a blend. And she's right that the cables are more knit like because you will put them onto a stitch holder and hold them to front or back, and then you will stitch, and then you'll put them back on and stitch from there and all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is very
And
much a blend.
yeah, and for the most part, I mean, except like the very beginning of the row, you're working with more than one live stitch at a time.
Truth.
So
But frogging in Tunisian is much like frogging in crochet,
yeah,
because if you know what row you want to end on, you stick a stitch marker in that first stitch and you can rip all the way back to there, and just like crochet, it stops right there at that stitch marker.
yeah,
Unlike knitting, if you're not careful, you're going to pull 3 rows at once and not realize it.
yes.
I may have
Thank
just done
you.
that last week.
That does really help my mental picture because I've always seen it more like a separate stitch
Mhm.
in crochet that like you said could replicate knitting.
Yeah.
So that description of the two having a baby makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Goes
I
right
think
where my
the
brain goes.
I think the abbreviations and the way that the patterns are written mimic more crochet than they do knitting.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the problem. But at the same time, like she said, you're working with multiple stitches at one time, and then you're building the stitches differently than you would in knitting. So it's yeah, it's a whole beautiful little train that's a lot of fun to ride.
It
Yes.
really is, and I haven't really done well. As Tiffany knows, I'm kind of what you would call a baby crocheter, even though I've been doing it for 50 years, because I've never moved beyond the straight-sided, blanket kind of
Mhm.
crocheting.
I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of people who never move beyond that, and a lot of people are happy there. I've enjoyed finding the other crafts, and I
Yeah.
somehow managed to pick up knitting needles. Don't ask to look at the sock, and we're fine. So, all right. So, Asia, who do you stitch for? Whether it's crochet, knit, Tunisian, whatever. And then conversely, who do you design for?
So I mainly make for myself, but I also am one of those people that likes to hand make almost all my gifts. I have lofty ambitions early in the year. Um, so, I always try to say that, oh, I'm gonna make everybody socks or whatever for Christmas, and I usually get through like half my list. Um, and
Sometimes the
then
important people are at the top. That's all that matters. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's how I look at it. And then I alternate between my family and my husband's family, so
Oh, there you go.
everybody gets socks every now and again. Um, and then designing, I also kind of design for myself. I mean, I live where it's very hot, so I like to have things that have room and some ease and just comfortable to wear because I do work a lot, and when I go out and I'm not working, I like to be comfortable. So,
I mean, that's
yeah.
the thing. Especially, I don't know if we've said it already or not. She lives in South Florida, y'all. So it gets very, very warm down there with all the humidity and all the temperature and
Uh-huh.
all the things. Which
Yeah.
is funny. What looking at my screen, I've got the two polar opposites of the US. I've got one who's bundled up to her neck because she's so cold, and I've got one in a t-shirt who's like, is the air conditioner even on at this point? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, the one
so
that absolutely had to turn on the heat, like, was it a week or 2 weeks? 2 weeks earlier than I wanted to this year.
yeah, that sounds about right. I turned it on
Yeah.
the other day and we had all the dust burning off, and that was entertaining. My kid came out
Yeah.
and she's like, "What is," or actually it was my husband came out and he's like, "What is that smell?" I said, "I turned the heater on," and he was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah, it was kind of chilly." So,
Ours doesn't do that because it's on more often than it's off.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know that feeling. I live in Texas, so I'm just saying.
I don't think I've
Anyway,
ever turned the heater on here. So,
South Florida, that's accurate.
yeah.
All right, Asia. So, how many patterns have you published to date?
So I have two that are self-published, and then I have two now that are published with We Crochet, and one more that is in the process with
I'm
We
so
Crochet.
excited about the We Crochet stuff, y'all. Y'all have
Yes.
got to see these patterns. Like, they are so great.
Yeah.
She's the first pattern in which ebook is it?
I am first in the Expanding Horizons. I
Yes.
was the cover for Expanding Horizons, and then I was the first pattern for the Big and Little. So it's like mommy and me patterns throughout
So
the whole thing.
she's got a Mommy and Me for all of the people who love Mommy and Me. There's your Tunisian call on that one.
Yes.
That's a We Crochet collaboration. And then y'all, my girl made the cover. She made the cover. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
I'm done.
was like when I saw the cover, I screamed. I was so excited because I didn't know until they were like, they sent out the email like, oh yeah, we published. And then I like clicked on it and I was just like, oh my God, like this is so exciting. So
So exciting.
yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
well,
I'm so proud of you for
to
jumping in with them as well, because that's
and
very intimidating.
to
Yeah.
be such a new designer and to get that kind of pat on the back. I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
I was shocked.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're
Y'all,
And then
welcome.
the
Big and Littles is like scrolling across the front of Crochet Now, or We Crochet's website.
oh, that's exciting.
Like,
Yeah, that
I
one I
can't.
am so proud of that pattern. I've never designed anything for kids before, so to go from, kids all the way up to adults, like that was
So
took some
what
stretching of the
sizes
brain power.
what
Um,
sizes was that one? Now, y'all, I didn't edit these because they are We Crochet publications. These were
Right.
edited by somebody else. She did come to me for like, hey, how does this look? What do we think? We did some idea
yeah.
bouncing. So even if you need idea bouncing, you don't have an editor, I will help you idea bounce. Lisa will help you idea bounce. But
Amen.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
idea bounce all day long.
I'm happy to do that with you.
So for the child sizes, it starts at a 20-inch like
Okay.
chest measurement and goes all the way
Right.
up to a 30-inch. And then
Uh-huh.
for the adults, it's 34 to 66 for the finish.
You look at you.
Wow.
You hit a
And do
Yeah.
you
big
do
range.
I
Yeah.
have to know, do you do your own grading?
Yes. Yes. That one,
Because that was a big job.
yeah. So especially for someone like me that does not feel overly confident in math, I was like, I don't know about this, but thankfully I can use spreadsheets. So that worked.
Spreadsheets are
But
great.
yes. But yeah, I'm really, really proud of how that one came out. So it's definitely my most intricate. I tend to stick with more like classic, kind of just like maybe show off the yarn or, basic texture. But this one, it has cables and stuff. So it was definitely much more intricate than any of my others.
That's
And I love it.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that one came
Awesome.
out really, really
Congratulations.
good.
Thank you.
So proud of you. And then what, so the other one, so that's the mommy and me. And
Yeah.
then what was the big texture on the other one? Because since it was just a New Horizons, you said is what it was called. What was the big
Yeah.
draw on that one?
That was Expanding Horizons. That ebook
Oh, there
was
you go.
all,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. That one was all Tunisian pattern, so that was pretty cool.
Oh,
And
that's
then that one,
awesome.
yeah, it uses the honeycomb stitch, so it has like really great texture all over, which I
Y'all
love.
love the honeycomb, let me tell you. You and
Well,
Ro
I mean,
both.
yeah, but I mean, it's just like it's so great and it's so easy. So,
Yes,
like you can
100%.
get a lot of benefits for very minimal work.
Yeah, you can. And it's really easy to change the colors and therefore change the look at the
So,
same
Miss
time.
Yeah.
Multitasker, you
I'm,
have
I'm
the
already
screens
working on the
open.
links. I'm already working on the
Thank you
links. Don't
very
you worry.
much.
Y'all, I got links for you. Don't you even worry about it. I'm already halfway there. So that's
Because I'm
awesome.
keeping my hands in my pockets.
Y'all, when I tell you she's bundled up, she's bundled up. Like she's cold. So, well, Asia, I'm so proud of you for jumping in because it's very intimidating for
Yeah.
jumping in with We Crochet. So we're gonna loop back to that here in
Yeah, because well, doing anything where you're talking about putting yourself out there in that kind of a forum, the competition is huge.
it is.
Their specifications can be so picky. I mean, even the most minute thing can get it kicked. That's a big deal. That is so awesome.
So proud of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
mean, I wouldn't even consider applying to a magazine.
this was okay. So to keep it real, let's just go with the transparency for a second. This was your fifth
Third.
application.
No, actually, the Tunisian one was the Tunisian one. They're all Tunisian ones. The Expanding Horizon one was my very first application for We Crochet.
Oh, okay.
The cables was probably my fifth. So I
Okay.
did do like others in between that did not get selected.
Okay.
That's why I was so shocked, honestly, with the one being the cover, because it was the first time I had applied for that first pattern published and like not by myself.
Right.
Um,
Not
so yeah,
independently
that was
kind of. Yeah. So
yeah,
y'all keep
Yeah.
that in mind. Like it's not. Yes, she got chosen on her first one because it was an amazing pattern. But at the same time, do not be scared to put yourself out because she didn't get selected her second time, her third time, or her fourth time. It took until her fifth time to be
yeah,
selected to be able to do it
That's
again.
that's a really good point. Just
So
keep on trying.
yeah,
yeah,
like
and I
let's keep the transparency there just for
yeah, and I do think the fact that the first time I applied was to an exclusively Tunisian crochet,
yeah,
ebook that they did definitely helped. So, because I think
probably.
there doesn't seem to be a ton of Tunisian crochet garment designers,
Mhm.
and that's
There's not.
pretty much all I do. So, um, I think for them to have like a good variety to include, garments as well as accessories, I had a decent chance, but
Yeah.
I was still shocked and surprised and excited.
Now the
And it
Tunisian, the honeycomb one, this is the one we were talking that could be worn either way, right? Forwards and backwards, if I remember correctly.
Um,
I know it was.
no,
I know it's written, with the V-neck in the
yeah,
front. But
yeah. So, I mean, you probably could. It's not like the V-neck is kind of what creates like the where it
yeah,
sits comfortably. Yeah, so I
yeah,
didn't do like short rows or anything.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. So, all right. So I just wanted to create that transparency for everybody so that everybody understood that yes, she has been selected. Yes, she has worked with a big name. However, it was not an immediate thing. So
Yeah.
right.
And it you just have to sometimes find the perfect mood board or, call description or whatever. You never know.
and that's
So
a
I've
big thing
applied to a
too. Is
lot of other things and have never been accepted. So
yeah, and that's the thing too is like you can read every mood board, and you're just gonna read them, and you're gonna look at them and be like, because like
yeah.
I love you. I don't see you creating a winter top. Like you could. Like I'm not trying to be just discrediting
No.
discrediting. I told y'all it was chaos train, but you could. But at the same time, you're only gonna wear it like what once every 5 years when you travel, kind of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not
So
South
yeah,
Florida thing. So
the one that I have that's still in the process with We Crochet is a winter sweater.
look
I
at
don't
you.
think I don't think I will ever wear it. Like I love it. It's a really cute design, but it is so hot. Like even just like trying it on to make sure it was fitting, I was like, "Oof, like we gotta turn the AC way down." 'Cause it's like a bulky weight yarn and everything. And I'm like,
Yeah, that
man,
doesn't
yeah,
work
this is
well.
hot.
Yeah, that doesn't work well for South Florida. Well, then I
Yeah.
stand corrected, y'all. She made a winter sweater. Look at that. She proved me wrong yet again. I love it. Love it. I love it. All right, so we're gonna do Miss Sparkle Coordinator's favorite question, and I have to throw her in there for it. She would want to know where did you get your username and like your username handle from? Where did it come from? Because she
So
loves this
mine,
question and she loves the stories.
yeah, so mine, it's all thanks to my husband because I am the worst person for naming things. I will debate 40 different names forever. So instead, I decided that he would name it. I had wanted to start a blog after finding Sorella, and so I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. I can blog. And he was going to make the website for me. And so after talking, he kind of came up with it. And it's yarn fixation. So it's kind of like a yarn obsession sort of thing. And
Yeah.
that fits very well with the, massive yarn hoard that I have going on in my house right now. So,
I like how inclusive it is, though. Like fixation in the in the obsessive version, and then like it's all things yarn. Like it doesn't
yeah,
pigeonhole you down.
right. And that's the other thing too, because I mean, at the time when I started it, all I knew how to do was crochet. I hadn't even learned like Tunisian crochet or anything. Um, so I wanted to have something that wasn't going to be like, this is my crochet blog. Um, you know,
Yeah,
so because
but now
now that
you
I
do what?
Tunisian crochet and I knit and
Yeah,
do stitch markers and all that stuff, and it all still fits.
yeah. I like it. I like it.
I like that too. I like the fact that it is broad. You know, it lets you expand without
Yeah,
holding you in. What our very first interview on the podcast was with the sockmatician. And one of his biggest regrets is he named himself the sockmatician before he decided to design. And all he did was socks at the time. Very, very rapidly, he quit knitting socks completely and moved into double knitting.
yeah,
But he was stuck with sockmatician.
yeah,
Well, and
So,
that's one of those things that we all learn at some point, to be able to do that. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So, anyway, um, do you ever crochet other people's designs? And if
yes,
so, why? If you do, so
yes.
what is your motivation for doing other people's designs?
I like sometimes to be able to make things without having to think too hard and do all the math myself. I like learning new things, and there are lots of people that know way more than I do. So, finding a new stitch or whatever that I can learn from someone else is always really exciting. Um, and I
That's a
also
good
just
answer.
really like to support other designers. So, I will do that. I love testing patterns. I've tested a couple patterns recently for Catherine um, for her Socktober socks.
Her Socktober
And
socks, yep, because
yeah,
that ebook is out, and
yeah.
I'll have to find that one.
And and yeah,
I have
I
to
love
hand it to
making
you guys who
socks.
do tests. I really do. I avoid them because I don't think I could knit fast enough.
Yeah, so I have recently with job change, and then I'm going to grad school right now. I have decided that I will only be testing socks because I know that I can make a sock in about 2 days. So that's all I will do.
I mean, that's a fair limit for yourself, though. Like that's a good thing
Yes.
to know
Okay,
your limit on that.
can we kind of delve deeper into that for a second? Are these crocheted socks or knit socks?
Knit socks.
The ones we're
And
talking
you
about
can
now are
do
knit.
a knit sock in 2 days?
Yes. I have made a pair of socks in 2 days, but yes, I can comfortably make one sock in 2 days. So
With
I
stitch
mean,
patterns and all of that.
yes,
Okay,
it's
I
better.
must
It's
be a
better if it's
ridiculously slow knitter.
no.
Slow
I
I'm a
knitter.
I
slow knitter too.
I think I am oddly fast at socks. I am not fast at anything else.
Socks
But
are very much our happy place.
oh
What
yes,
is
and
what is your preferred method of knitting socks? Double pointeds, magic
uh,
loop,
9-inch circs.
9-inch circs.
Yes. That is all
Okay.
I will make socks on.
Okay.
But yeah, and I have also I make an extra small, so like very small circumference, and I don't have I wear a size 8 shoe, so I don't have like very big feet either. So it's
Okay,
pretty
but
fast for me.
my even my husband's socks are shorter than a size 8 shoe. And I can I just did a pair of DK weight socks for him that took me, well, admittedly, they were not my only project at the time. I rarely knit just one thing at a time. But what was it? 3
Monogamous
weeks?
making is just, it's a thing. Like having more than one thing to make is much more. I find it much more relaxing because when you need that brain break, you can just switch over and you've got that new make to work on.
Yeah,
So,
there's
anyways,
always the project that takes more brain power, and then the
Yeah.
socks that I
yep.
can throw into the car. And now that I'm a permanent passenger in the car, socks are my go-to knitting in the car. Although I got in the
Yeah.
car to go to the doctor yesterday and looked at my husband and went, "I forgot my knitting."
I
That's
hate
the
it when
worst.
that happens. I
That was
hate
a
it
Yeah.
when
real
that
bummer.
happens.
Okay. What kinds of things do you find inspire your designs?
Um, so mainly the heat. So I like to have things that I think are really pretty and classic that I can wear kind of all the time. Um, but also are not super heavy. I do tend to work with cotton, so all of my designs are seamed. Um, because it just gives it the extra structure.
Mhm.
Um, and then also with Tunisian, you can get some really great texture without really trying that hard. So I like texture too, as long as it's not going to be like too much, like too distracting all over. Um, so I'll do that if I find like a really cool stitch that I like. Um, that's really inspiring. And then also having some really good friends that are yarn dyers, the yarn is definitely inspiring. You know, like Kathleen, she just all of her yarn is just amazing to me, and I could just go on and on and on about how much I love everything she makes.
No,
Um,
no, 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 no. You have a preferred base. Do not even
Well,
attempt to lead these people on and say you do not have a preferred base. I will call
okay.
you out on that.
well, well, yes, because I do love the vegan sock base, as it is the only base that I will make socks for myself in. Um, it is the greatest base ever to touch this planet. Um, but I do love all of her bases, you know. Like her cotton DK is what I made my first pattern in, so that one has a special place in my heart too.
I mean, look,
Well,
it's a
and
good yarn.
finding a cotton dyer, a cotton indie dyer, is a lot harder than finding, the superwash and all of that.
Yeah.
So
Oh
to
yeah.
find a good cotton dyer,
Yeah.
you wanna just like support that person any way you can, right?
And
Oh yeah.
that's one of the things that Kathleen prides herself on, is the fact that she's got a lot of different bases that are non-wool. She
Yeah.
started cotton, and she'll tell you the story at some point, I'm sure, but she's her big thing was cotton, and she was looking for something non-wool, so she started it, and she
Yeah.
is quite amazing at it. We're not gonna
Yeah.
leave that on at all. So
Yeah. I definitely love Kathleen. So, and she was my first fiber friend, and so we're just very close.
yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like designing wasn't worth it? Like maybe nope, this just isn't for me, or I'm not good enough, whatever. Have you ever felt like giving it up?
Yeah, especially since I am such a slow designer, comparatively speaking. Um, I mean, I have self-published 2 patterns in 2 years, almost 3 years now. So, yeah, I mean, it does feel like a lot of work for very little financial return, but I love seeing like when people make, a thing that I have designed, like that is so exciting, and it makes it worth it. So, and then like with the We Crochet stuff, I mean, to, have a design of mine on the cover, that made it worth it for sure. That was
That is
so
a
exciting,
huge
and like,
thing.
yeah, and it's like, one of the proudest moments of my life. Um, so yeah, it may not be, my job where I can support myself, but it is fun, and I do really enjoy it.
Cool.
Enjoying it is one of the things that I think we all have to remind ourselves. Sometimes it's the journey, not the actual end result. So
Yeah.
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 Well, especially in this business.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's very few people who can actually make it their sole income anymore,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? The ones that some of the older designers that came from the design world, I mean, they went to college for it, and they, that was their path, had a different path to walk because they were also walking a commercial design versus designing and self-publishing and being the the whole business,
Yeah.
right? And I know designers now that came from that realm, and they look at this independent designing world that there's now stuffed into, and they're like, it's it having to be the whole ball game, the entire business. That's really tough.
It is really
Um,
tough, and it's hard for a
yeah.
lot of people, and that's why a lot of people they stop after a couple of patterns, and and it's a reason, it's a justifiable reason, but
Yep.
even if you only do one pattern a year, whatever makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy. All right, so this one's going to be a leading question, and I'm sure you're going to figure out real quick where I'm going to go with this one, because I'm like y'all. I'm ecstatic about this stuff. I can't even lie. So you have an Etsy shop.
Yeah.
And we're not talking the Ravelry shop. We know your patterns are in your Ravelry shop. And yes, people, I will have links for you. They're already in the thing. They will go out in show notes, I promise. So you have an Etsy shop. What's in your Etsy shop, my love?
So I have stitch markers that are like my regular staples, and then right now I also have a winter countdown box of stitch markers that is dart frog themed, and it
I'm
is
so
very
freaking
exciting.
excited about this. Like, I can't even begin to tell
Yes.
y'all how excited I am about this. So, okay. So, what made you get into the stitch markers? And what are your favorite, like, what continues down, sustains you down that journey, I guess is the best word to put it, because chaos train over here, I can't find my words.
So I wanted to find a different way to be creative than just designing garments, because designing garments is very time consuming.
It
Um,
is.
Stitch markers are a bit more instant gratification,
I
so
can see
that's
that.
always good. Yeah. So I decided that I wanted to do that. Um, Kathleen, again, for her 2021 holiday countdown box, I asked her if I could make the stitch markers for her box, and she said yes. So that is how I got started.
Love
Um,
them, by the way. Those are two of my favorite markers. Continue.
yes, it was definitely a big learning experience. I tried different types of stitch markers. I did resin, I did watercolor. Um, so yeah, I tried a lot of different things, kind of figured out what I liked, which is the watercolor.
Hmm.
um, so I did that, and then I also wanted to make something that I could use for knitting and crochet, since I do both. And so I really got behind that. I found some clasps that I like, that they're circular, but they still open, so you can use them for crochet. And then they're not super heavy, so you can use them for sock knitting, because I do that all the time.
I mean,
Um,
look.
and yeah, and they're pretty big, so you can use it for like your bigger needle sizes too. I think it's like a 8 millimeter, so it's a pretty big
I've
needle.
I've used mine up to a 5.5. So yeah, we're good. Y'all,
Yeah.
I so she's one of my friends, so I had to support her. Bought a set shortly after
Well,
she put them out.
I want to ask, you say you do your stitch markers with watercolors. So you are
Yeah.
painting the
Yes.
design for every stitch marker.
Yeah. So some of them are more abstract than others. So like just kind of like color themes and, like speckles and that kind of thing. And then some of them, like the Halloween countdown ones, are a bit more intricate and a lot more time consuming.
The
Um,
Halloween countdown she's referring to is the one where she partnered with LaRue Cotton again, where they did a Disney villains themed countdown box. That is what she's
yes.
referring to. The photos will go up in the next pair of weeks. I'm sorry I had to fill the backstory in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Continue.
if you'll get photos to me, I can add them to the show notes. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Oh, yeah. Because this will be after that point. So yeah,
Yeah,
one of us will take photos and get you
that
photos.
would
So
be
yeah,
fantastic.
these
Um,
photos,
do
like
you
these markers are great, y'all. I'm just
do
saying.
you hand when you have a design that you're replicating for multiple markers, do you paint the first one and then replicate it, or do you paint every one?
Everyone is hand painted.
Girl,
So yeah.
you are
Oh, they're amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
That
Like,
is that is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I look at it as like a much kind of like, hand-dyed yarn. Not every skein is going to be the same, but that's just kind of the way it works. It's all individual, and that's how I like the stitch markers to be too.
Yeah, but
Everything is a little different.
letting people know that are going to go look at your stitch markers that each and every one of those was handmade, hand
handmade each
painted.
time.
That is amazing. That they
Yeah.
need to know.
Yeah. So I bought a set of her markers shortly after they went on sale, and there's a couple of giant ones that I use as my beginning of round ones. And each
Yeah.
time I hit the beginning of round, it feels like a complete medal of completion. Hey, you just finished this last round. Congratulations. And I use her markers for everything. Like the only thing I don't use them for is my cast on counting, because the light bulb markers are just easier for that. But y'all will get to see the pictures in the show notes, but I showed off the stitch markers for the advent, because I suddenly dawned on me when we were chatting beforehand that I hadn't opened my box. So of course I opened up the stitch markers, because we were all on video, and Asia and I share we like seeing reactions. So She was laughing at me while I was opening them. So Lisa got to see the markers that are
Well,
in the
and
box.
I got to laugh at you a bit too
I
because
mean,
as you
look,
got so
yeah.
excited that you're showing them and they
I'm dropping
fall out of the
everything. Yeah,
box
I
and
dropped everything while I was
yeah,
showing them.
yeah.
So
The chaos train began.
look, the chaos train's been around all day. So the other thing that, as I recall, I chewed you out the last time that you and I talked about your Etsy shop was what's the other thing you have in your Etsy shop that I didn't know about that I was very offended about?
Yeah, so I have 3D printed storage containers for stitch markers. Um,
They are great, y'all, and
so
they
yeah,
hold all of the markers beautifully. And like
yeah,
you're not trying to scramble to put them into anything. They hold all of her markers perfectly. And yeah, I'm done.
yeah.
Hmm.
So
I'm not, but
the
I'm done.
I can see an addition to my Christmas list happening.
Oh yeah, all day long. And
yeah,
she's got the winter advent coming up. I'm just saying. So
yeah,
Yeah.
and that one is really fun. Like the container for that it's great. I love the Halloween one that I did with Kathleen, but I think just as like a standalone thing that's not necessarily themed, the one that I have for my winter advent is pretty great.
oh, it's
So,
awesome. Like if I think I know what I think I know, it's awesome. And the whole thing is just gonna be beautiful. I'm just saying.
yeah.
So anyways. Okay.
Cool.
So
So we've talked about what's coming for the stitch markers in terms of the winter advent. What else is waiting in the wings?
So I have a design coming in summer of 2024 with In Tandem Zine, which it's
yay.
a self-published zine. I know that you guys have interviewed a few of the other
We
designers.
have.
And then I also, for spring of next year, I have a design with Sam of Beachy Breeze Fibers. I'm going to use her non-superwash fingering
Oh,
base.
love her colors. Her colors.
Yeah. Okay.
So the winter sweater.
Yeah. So it's going to be in spring. It's a fingering weight sweater in Sam's Delta line, which is her non-superwash line, which is my favorite yarn base from her. It is so squishy and wonderful. And it's going to be
Squishy, squishy.
it's going to be a cabled sweater again. I had this idea after the Mommy and Me pattern that I wanted to do some sort of like really big, chunky kind of big cable. Um, and even though it's going to be fingering weight with Tunisian, you can make a fingering weight seem more like a DK. So um, that's what I'm going with. And I think it's going to be really exciting.
I love
Cool.
Sam's yarn. It's so
Yeah.
squishy.
Yeah.
So
Sam is
squishy.
great.
Yes, she is. Very much so. Okay.
Oh, this list of indie dyers you guys are introducing
Look,
me to.
I never said I was a good influence. Let's be
Yeah.
very, very frank on that. I never said I was a good influence for anything.
Enabling in my book is just the way it goes.
I mean, that's life right there. That's all it is enabling, and you have to share the amazingness.
That's
Okay, so
right.
you said enzyme. You've got the winter sweater with wheat crochet, the cable thing with Sam, your Christmas or not Christmas holiday
Yeah.
advent.
Yeah.
Winter
Um,
advent. Is
yeah.
is there anything self-published coming, or are you strictly working with the various magazines at this point?
No, I mean, I do have some self-published things. I'm like 2 weeks late getting this pattern to Tiffany. Oops.
Always
So,
do. I mean, that's
you
actually pretty
know,
on par for you. It's all right.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I'm just, life happens and I'm very slow to get things finished.
100%.
Yeah.
Eh,
So, but yeah, I have a lot of samples made up. I just need to write a lot of patterns. And I have some, it's mostly Tunisian stuff, but I have some sock designs too. I think I have 3 now that I would like to write up.
Cool.
yeah, that's
Cool.
Yeah.
the one thing you haven't written up yet as our, small group sock queen. You have not written up a sock yet. So
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm interested
I
to see
am
that one coming.
I make them a lot, but I am terrible at writing down the patterns. So
You're not the only designer in that camp, so don't
yeah.
feel
Never,
bad.
never, even ever, not even a little
Uh,
bit
Yeah.
ever.
a friend of mine who is also a designer has a shawl that was designed 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm still bugging him to get it written down, and I'm not the only one bugging him to get it written down.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds familiar. I usually run in that camp too, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, the pattern I'm super late getting to Tiffany. I had the sample made in May.
Let's be clear, y'all. Late is her terms of late. I'm not panicking yet. I'll start panicking in about 3 weeks.
Yeah. Um
I learned the
so
timings of my designers. What can I say?
Yes, we do
yeah.
know.
Yeah, and it's a tank top, so it's gonna be released next year. So I feel like that takes a little bit of the pressure off. But I really just want to get it. I just want to get it done because I made the sample so long ago. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
Tunisian or regular?
Tunisian,
Okay.
and it's cabled and it's made again with Kathleen's yarn. It's her Tencel DK base. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, so it's super silky and very, very like cool. It's kind of silky and just very nice. So
I need to try that one. I haven't tried that one
And
yet.
Tencel,
yeah,
it must be pretty drapey too.
yes, yeah, it's a lot like the Lion Brand Trubu. Um,
I
so
don't
just
think
like
it's,
yeah, super drapey and
but it doesn't stretch the way that True Boo does after it's worked, right?
yeah, I mean, you have to. You definitely have to steam block it as you're going. That way you don't end up with something that's huge. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I know
Yeah,
True
so
Boo grows like exponentially after you use it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, Tencel does too. So like with this one when I was making it, I steam blocked it every couple of inches and just like stretched it and just blocked it and then kept going. So that way I could kind of get a more realistic measurement for it.
that's
So,
probably accurate.
yeah.
Interesting. So, next question, and one that we like to ask all of our designers is what advice do you have for someone who is thinking about becoming a designer or is a brand new designer?
Get a tech editor. So,
That was not prompted, I promise.
No, it was not.
yeah, no, definitely though, because I mean, it's the same thing with like editing your writing. You can't read your own stuff and find all the
Mm.
mistakes. You
Your
have to have
brain is
somebody
a
else
funny
look at it.
thing.
Yeah, because you know what you're trying to say, but that doesn't mean anybody else does.
The brain is
Um,
a funny thing.
yeah. And then I also think it's really important to remember that nothing is ever going to be perfect. It's not ever going to be the perfect design for 100% of people. Um, I mean, I think a lot of designers put a lot of pressure on themselves to make everything be exactly what everyone is looking for, and that's just never going to happen. I think a lot of people get into, fiber arts because they want to make their own clothing. And so a lot of people know how to, make adjustments or whatever. And, you want to,
Modifications, yeah.
yeah, you want to make it as inclusive as possible. But, sometimes people will take it, and even if they would have fit within your pattern as written, they'll still want to change things, and that's just kind of the way it goes. It's art.
Well, and it's
That's
it's one
true.
of the things that I will constantly say about grading patterns. You can't grade in everybody's type.
Yeah,
You're grading for a specific range and standard, and then each d- each crafter needs to understand the difference between their body and the standard body because we're none of us standard
yeah,
and we can't
Nobody's
design to
standard.
everybody. It just trying to explain that to some designers has been a challenge that no, I can make this range go from 32 to 66 or 32 to 70, but there's going to be bodies in there that this design doesn't fit quite right and they're going to have to modify.
yeah,
That's because there's just no way you can fit putting bust darts into a pattern has got to be like the world's hardest. I think bust darts are harder than sleeve caps.
I've never
Seriously.
done either, but it sounds terrifying both ways.
Because, shaping a set-in sleeve is truly an art form, and then trying to make it multiple sized is like, ugh. But
Yeah.
putting in bust darts in a pattern and having that bust dart lay where the person's bust really is, yeah, they're gonna
Yeah.
have to modify it. They're going to have to. There's just no way that you can design it and have it fit everybody. It just doesn't happen. So, yeah, understanding that your pattern is going to not fit every single person is that was a really good one.
Yeah. So it's
Good one.
it's taken a lot of, I would honestly, this year for me to really kind of accept that, I mean, I've been doing so much research, and I kind of just think I got overwhelmed by the amount of information, and then I was
That's a
just like,
very easy thing to do.
yeah.
Get
Yeah.
overwhelmed by the rabbit holes.
Yeah, and then I was just like paralyzed because I'm like, I don't I don't want to make something that's not going to work, but at the same time, I mean, it will work. It just may not be perfect for everyone, and they'll just have to make
Right.
adjustments just like I do because I
And
have the
that's
world's smallest torso.
and that's why we craft,
Yeah.
right? Is
I
so
wish
that
I
we
had
can
that
make the
problem.
modifications so that they fit the body that we're making for.
Yeah.
Exactly. And knowing how to make your modifications specifically for you is what you have to learn as you go through making. And that's,
Yep.
like you said,
Yep.
that's why we love doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to piggyback on the back of that question with an extra because I know you love me for those. Um, any advice for those who want to do the we crochet or knit picks or do any of these open calls? I know at one point, and I've been very bad with my newsletter. I'm sorry, y'all. It's been a year, okay? But
Yeah.
yeah, but I usually try to share any open calls, any open designer calls, that kind of thing. Do you have any advice for those who want to do those, even if they have never designed before? What do you have any words for that?
Yeah, so I definitely think just go for it because a lot of times, like, I never expected really to get accepted with the first time I put in a submission for We Crochet. I didn't think it was going to happen. And then I have put in with other yarn companies and I didn't get accepted, but you know, you just keep trying, and then if it doesn't work out, you can always self-publish.
Yeah, exactly. And
So,
that's what I always tell you guys is that you've got an idea, write it down. If they don't take it, then we run down the self-publishing route.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it's a great option.
Yeah.
And little known fact to pretty much the whole world, I actually put in with We Crochet on a winter board. I guess it was last year. I think it was last year I put in. I didn't get accepted. No big deal, but I actually did it. I was very proud of myself for doing it.
Yeah, and I
So,
mean, I think you have to celebrate those things because it is putting yourself out there, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but it, you
and
know, it
we
happens.
we I try to anybody who tells me that they put in with anything like this, and Asia will tell you because I've done it with her. I don't know how many times we celebrate the fact that you even got the gumption up to put it in because
Yeah.
it's
Right.
it's hard to hit send. It's
Yeah.
hard to build it out to be able to put it in with anybody, and it is hard to hit that send button. So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know that the the cabled sweater, my mommy and me pattern, I had submitted that to someone else first and they said no. And then I turned around because We Crochet had the mommy and me thing, and I was like, all right, well, cool, I can grade it for kids too. Why not?
yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes you have to tweak things, but it might
But
just
that's
work out.
actually
So
and
try.
that's a good idea too, is that if it doesn't work for one, see what you can do about maybe recreating it for another one. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a good idea
I,
too.
I love that. Don't put yourself in a box.
Don't
Yeah.
pigeonhole yourself. Exactly.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
because you don't, just because somebody didn't like it doesn't mean somebody else won't like it. Exhibit A with Ezra. And then,
Yeah.
and it's like, like we said, if you don't get accepted by them, okay, great. write it out. You can self-publish it, and guess what? There's somebody in this world who's going to love it, and it's going to be their favorite make in the world. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
All right. So to round out this chaos train ride this time around, where can everybody find you, my love?
I am most active on Instagram at Yarn Fixation. I love to talk to people in my DMs, even though I am a, super introvert. I do love chatting over the internet. That's great.
She does the
And
faceless chatting well.
yes, I do. And then my Etsy shop is yarnfixation.etsy.com, and my blog is yarnfixation.com.
And
So,
a Ravelry shop too, right?
oh yeah, Ravelry is Yarn Fixation blog.
Okay. And I don't remember, are you on Lovecraft? I don't think you are.
No, I'm on
Okay.
Threadfolio though as Yarn
Oh, that's what
Fixation.
it was.
Yeah,
I knew there was another one. I was like, what's the
yeah,
other one?
yeah. I always forget
Threadfolio.
Threadfolio, but that one's pretty great. So, like, it's a nice platform.
Well, there you go.
Now,
Yep.
okay,
All
I'm going
right.
to, I know that was supposed to be the last question, but please
Uh-oh, here
tell
we
our
go.
listeners, what is Threadfolio? Because I've not heard of it.
It's just another platform for selling patterns. It's pretty small. Mainly, I think it's mainly crochet, but I could be mistaken. I haven't looked
I
at
don't
it too
know.
closely recently.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. It came
so
about with the Ravelry kickback, we'll call it. The Ravelry
Okay.
yeah,
issues that were had
So they're a
not long
growing
ago.
platform.
They are.
yeah. So, but it's just another place that you can get patterns.
And do
I know some
you,
people don't like buying patterns on Etsy, so it's another
I've
option.
heard some designers say that they have really good luck selling on Etsy. Do you put your self-published on Etsy?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So they can find you there as well. All right.
yep.
Wonderful. Well, Asia, I'm going to publicly say thank you for coming back. What our listeners are not aware of is this is poor Asia's second time around doing this because we had technical challenges with the first one. It was uneditable. I'm just going to say it. It was. I tried. There was no way. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Um,
I think we got a better interview this time around than we did the first time. So we'll just call that a
well,
dress rehearsal.
you know,
Works for me.
and that's hard to to say when our sparkle coordinator was part of the first one.
Yeah, I mean, we do miss the sparkle coordinator and her input on it, but I think
Yeah.
it's because you were further along in you hadn't come up with with your holiday advent yet,
Yeah,
and you hadn't come up with the other patterns yet, and you hadn't had quite as much going on. So I think that's why
yeah.
it worked better this time. So,
So
yeah,
anyway, thank you very much, Asia. Thank you, Tiffany, for taking time out of what is a very busy time of year for you.
it's a ridiculous time of year, but it's all good. So it runs and it
And
rolls. So, all right. Well, you have anything else, Miss Lisa?
I really don't. Let's call it a day. Let's go kick our feet up and get some food.
I think
Yeah.
there's a burger in the other room for me. So, Asia, my
Thank you so
darling,
much.
as always, it was lovely to spend time with you. You know, I love
Yes,
you.
you too.
So,
All right. Nice to meet you,
Lisa,
Asia.
you stay
Thank
warm.
you.
All right, y'all. This concludes the end of this version of the Chaos Train. You may now return your tables to their upright positions. You may unfasten your seatbelts when this cabin has come to a full and complete stop. And may y'all have a lovely week. Bye.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.
Next time, Tiffany and I talk the creation of and the writing patterns for socks. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen, and join the conversation in our Ravelry or Facebook groups. For show notes or knit tech editing and related services, please visit my website at arcticedits.com. To inquire about crochet tech editing and other services Tiffany provides, please go to wootcrafts.com.